New York Mets have been linked to a big name starter that could be available at the MLB trade deadline in the latest report. Before we fully get into who this pitcher could be that David Stearns and the Mets are interested in bringing into this rotation and the latest report from an MLB insider, please do smash those thumbs up buttons on this video. If you enjoy the discussion, make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for all your latest Mets trade deadline videos, discussions, rumors, and also pregame and postgame streams. And also comment your thoughts and opinions down below. I have linked the previous content in the description, so make sure to go check that out. All right, let's get into the latest report from ESPN's Buster Olney. Yes, Mets fan favorite Buster Olney. Yes, that was definitely sarcasm, but Dylan Cease could be drawing interest from multiple teams around the league. And according to Buster Olney, the New York Mets are also interested, as they were this past offseason in potential trade talks with the Padres surrounding both Cease and Michael King. Now that Dylan Cease is going to be a rental, his contract is up after the 2025 season. The Padres could be looking for a potential return to fill other roster needs as they make a push towards a playoff spot this season. And by the way, in the standings, especially the wild card right now, the Padres are looking up at the New York Mets, which could impact whether these two teams get a deal done. But this is the report to a T from Buster Olney over on X. A surprise name has emerged in the starting pitching market. Dylan Cease, who will be eligible for free agency at year's end. Perception of other teams is that the Padres are intent on making a push for the playoffs this season and would use Cease to help fill other roster needs. The Mets, AL East teams, and the Chicago Cubs are among teams that have talked about him. Again, this is not new. The New York Mets have been interested in Dylan Cease in the past. Nobody got a trade done with the Padres this past offseason, and therefore he remained a Padre in the first half of this year, where he has objectively struggled. A former All-Star, one of the bigger names on the trade market, this past offseason, finding his way back into those discussions at the deadline. It has been a struggle-filled season for Dylan Cease, and I do apologize about the color code error here because 2024 should be highlighted in green, and 2025 has been nothing but red. Bad for Dylan Cease with a 4.61 ERA. Pretty much every single category, every single statistic is up for Dylan Cease this year. And that could mean other teams, including the Mets, could be buying low on Dylan Cease at this MLB trade deadline, as clearly the Padres are a playoff contending team and they have other roster holes, according to Buster Olney, that they want to fill. And that's probably going to be major league talent going back in return, maybe mixed in with a prospect or two. They need an impactful bat. I'm sure they probably need a bullpen arm, something along those lines. That's probably what you're looking at. Now, I don't have a proposed trade package. This is going to be one of the shorter videos, just letting you all know that the Mets are still interested in adding to the rotation with a name like Dylan Cease. Probably will be less costly than a guy like Mitch Keller. Might be a little bit less costly than a pitcher to the caliber of Seth Lugo and what he's posted in a Royals uniform. This could be a really good fit. Go back to the 2024 season, 3.47 ERA for Dylan Cease, over 189.1 innings pitched. He had a fantastic time, and it's really shocking that Dylan Cease has struggled this mightily in 2025, despite posting similar values in some of these more advanced metrics, right? Especially off of the Savant page. The strikeout rate is still at 30%, which is awesome for Dylan Cease. The walk percentage is nearly similar to what he posted in the entirety of the 2024 season. And the hard hit rate is up just a little bit, but it's not drastic to what the hard hit rate was in 2024 for Dylan Cease. So what is going on with Dylan Cease? I believe the FIP, and that's your expected stats for Dylan Cease, is also up this year. I think around 30 percentage points, something like that. So that is maybe an indication as to what is going on with him and what's going wrong from this season compared to last season, but I still think Dylan Cease has immense talent. Clearly, he's going to be a rental. Clearly, he's still going to be demanding some pretty big money given the numbers that he's posted throughout his career thus far, both in the Padres and the White Sox uniform. But this could be a buy low scenario for a lot of teams. Now, do we really think the Padres are going to trade him within the NL, especially to teams like the Mets and the Cubs that are right above them in the wild card standings, given that the Brewers just overtook the Cubs for the NL Central lead? I have my doubts about that, and we've seen the Padres in the past with some of the bigger names that they have dealt. They like to trade to the AL. So I'm sure a lot of these AL teams, especially the AL East teams, whether you're the Yankees, Blue Jays, whoever, are kind of like sitting there with wide eyes, like we could get Dylan Cease for cheap, given that he's a rental, and we would just have to give the Padres a couple of lower level prospects and maybe an MLB ready talent in return. Now, when I think about this kind of move, and this is maybe from a Boston Red Sox perspective, if they're looking to add another starting pitcher to make a formidable rotation headlined by Garrett Crochet, if they are interested in trading Jarren Duran, I mean, it's a long shot, and the Padres might have to give up a little bit more than just Dylan Cease to make that work, given the controllability and the upside of Jarren Duran. But this is how the Padres could get another impactful bat, is if they target Jarren Duran and send Dylan Cease over to an AL East team, like we just saw with the Buster Only report. And even if the Padres were willing to deal Cease within the NL, the Cubs are clearly going to be aggressive on that front and adding another starter to their rotation. So I still think objectively, to round this video out, that this is a long shot. But given that David Stearns and the Mets have shown a very big interest in Cease with a lot of reports and rumors this past offseason, I have no doubt that if all else fails elsewhere with an Edward Cabrera from the Marlins, who the Mets have also been interested in at this trade deadline, with Seth Lugo, Mitch Keller, etc., if all else fails on those fronts, Dylan Cease could be another option for the Mets to pivot to add to the rotation. And when you talk about a guy that has a lot of high upside, the numbers don't quite show exactly the talent that he has. But if you all have been paying attention to Dylan Cease's career, this would be a huge addition to a Mets rotation that already has a strengthened rotation by getting Senga and Manaea back alongside David Peterson, Clay Holmes, and Frankie Montas, who have all generally been pitching well so far this season. So, Mets fans, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think this is realistic? Do you think the Padres would trade him to a team like the New York Mets? And do you think that David Stearns is interested enough to make a deal like this happen? Please hit the thumbs up buttons. I definitely appreciate it. Keep subscribing. Check out all the previous content down with the links in the description down below. Until next stream or video, see you all later. Let's go Mets.